Hello students, welcome to our online class. This is mathematics class, and today we are going to be looking at mean, median, mode and range under statistics. We're looking at mean, median, mode and range. I'm sure by now you know the definition of statistics. You understand the definition of statistics, and you also know the major divisions of statistics. We have the descriptive statistics, you have the inferential statistics. I'm sure you're familiar with all that. So we are going a little bit further today. We want to look at mean, median and mode and also range under statistics. Okay, so let's look at the definition of mean. The mean is computed by adding all of the numbers in the data together and dividing by the number elements contained in the data set. I'll take that again. The mean, which is also sometimes called average. So if you're asked to find average, is also the same thing as finding the mean of a number element of a data set. Okay, so the mean, which is also the average, is computed, that is calculated. Another word for computed there is calculated by adding all of the numbers in the data together and dividing by the number elements contained in the data set. I'm going to give you an example. Now let's look at this. We are given this set of numbers. We are given 2, 5, 9, 3, 5, 4 sets. 7. These numbers make up your data set. 2, 5, 9, 3, 5, 4, 7. Those are the numbers we are given. So that's our data set. Then if you want to find the number of elements in the data set, you want to count the number of digits or figures that you have in all these data sets. So I'm going to count that for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means the total number of elements we have in this data set, that is the question we are given, is 7. So if I want to find my mean now using this data set, using this question I was given, I want to find the mean. I am going to add. Remember, the mean is computing or adding together. Is calculated by adding all of your data set together and dividing by the number of elements. Okay, so we're going to add this data set together. I will have 2 plus 5, that gives 7. 7 plus 9 gives us 16. 16 plus 7, that gives us 23. 23 plus 5 gives us 28. 28 plus 4 gives us 32. 32 plus 3 gives us 35, and 35 divided by 7 is going to give us 5. So that's just the mean calculated right there. That's the average right there. So let's proceed to median. Median is also known as the middle number. Okay, the median of a data set, I already told you what a data set means. That's the numbers you are given as the question. So the median of a data set is dependent on whether the number of elements in the data set is odd or even. What are odd numbers? Odd numbers are numbers that are not divisible by 2. Example, 3, 5, 1 is one of them. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23. They are numbers that cannot be divided by 2 without giving you a remainder. So those are odd numbers. Even numbers are numbers that are divisible by 2. For example, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. Alright, so to find your median, you are going to take into consideration the numbers you have in your data set. If the number of elements in your data set is odd, there is a way you are going to find your answer. Then if it is even, you have, it's another way you will get your answer. I'm going to come to that now. when I am treating the example. So what do you do to calculate your median? The first step to take is to first reorder. The first thing to do is to first reorder the data set from the smallest to the largest. That is, you arrange your data set, the numbers you are given, you arrange them from the smallest to the largest. That's in ascending order. In ascending order, from the smallest to the largest number you arrange. Then you mark off the high and low values until you reach the middle. If there are two middle numbers, that is in case of an even number of elements. If there are two middles, you have to add them and divide by 2. Let's look at an example that will buttress what I just said now. Okay, look at an example of a situation where you have odd number of elements. How do you know that it's odd number? We look at that. Look at the question you are given. They want us to calculate the mean of these numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is to count the number of elements I have there. If it is an odd number I will just show you how to get your answer. Then if it is even number, I will also give you an example that will show you how to solve it when you have even number as the number of elements. But in this case now, I have odd number elements. Odd number of elements. Look at it. Let's count it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is an odd number, so it's just easy for me to get my median. Now we just look for the middle number. How do I do that? Remember, we said the first thing to do is to reorder your numbers, your data set. You reorganize your data set in ascending order, that is from the smallest number to the largest number. So I'm just going to do that straight away. 2 is the smallest number in this data set. I'll put 2 as the first number, followed by my 3, followed by 4, then followed by 5. I have 5 reoccurring twice there, so 5, 5, and then followed by 7, and then followed by 9. So what do I do? In your notebooks or your exercise with this, so how you do it to make it easy for you, you just circle the smallest number and you circle the largest number at the back. You circle the next small number followed by the next large. Whatever you do towards your right, you do it at your left too. So you circle 2, circle 9, circle 3, circle 7. You are coming to the middle gradually. You want to get to the last number that will stand in the middle. You circle 4 and circle 5. You see 5 standing alone without being circled. That is our middle number, which is known as your median. Let's go and look at an example or a scenario where I have even number of elements. Let me count. Look at the question I'm being given. That's my data set. I'll just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6. 6 is an even number because it is divisible by 2. So in this case, I won't follow the other method of just circling, but still I will have to reorder my number. That is, I rearrange my number in ascending order, that is from the smallest number to the largest number. So let's look at that. This is my 2 coming first, followed by my 3, followed by my 4, followed by 5, 5, and then 9. What do I do in this case? I'm still going to circle the first number here. I'll circle this, I'll circle that, I'll circle this, I'll circle that. So instead of me to have one number standing in the middle, I have 2 because it is even number of elements. That is what will always happen when the number of elements you are given is even number. You will always have 2 numbers left in the middle. And what do you do to find your median? In that case, you add the 2 numbers together. 4 plus 5. What I will have is 9. Then I'll divide by 2. So you have the 2 numbers in the middle together divided by 2. So my answer here, after adding the 2 digits that are in the middle together, gives me 9. 9 divided by 2 gives us 4.5. So that's just going to be my answer for that question. Let's move forward as we look at mode. Mode is known as the most often. Look at that. Mode is the most often, the most frequent element there. The mode for a data set is the element that occurs the most often. You will get that when we go to the example. The elements that appears most often, that's your mode. It is not uncommon for a data set to have more than one mode. That is, in some cases, in some questions, you can have two numbers that ending up to become your mode. It's not uncommon. You can have that once in a while, where you have more than one mode in a question, in a data set. We'll look at that. So this happens when two or more elements occur with equal frequency. That means they appear the same number of times in the data set. Let's look at that example. This is the data set. That's the question. Your question is always referred to as your data set. Okay, 2, 5, 9, 3, 5, 4, 7. They want me to find the mode in this case. Which number appears most often? 2 appears only once, so it definitely is not the mode. 5 is appearing twice. Let me proceed to see whether 9 appears twice. No, 9 appears only once. 3 appears only once. 4 appears only once. 7 appears only once. Only my 5 occurs 2 times. So that is my mode, because it is the only digit there, is the only element there that occurs twice. So that's the element that occurs most often. All right, so that's the mode right there. Let's go to example 2. Look at the question I have here. This is the data set. I have 2, I have 5, I have 2, I have 3, I have 5, I have 4, and I have 7. All right. Look at 2 here. 2 occurs 2 times. Look at that right here and here. Look at 5. 5 occurs 2 times as well. It occurs here and it occurs here as well. Okay, look at my 3 here, occurring only once. 4 occurring only once. 7 occurring only once. So I have 2 modes here. 2 occurs the same number of times 5 occurs. So I will just write 2 and 5, because 2 occurs 2 times, 5 also occurs 2 times. So my modes, I have 2 modes in this question, so I'll just put it separately. You don't need to add it together. So you write 2 and 5 are the modes for this question. So let's proceed to the final stage. That's the range. The range for a data set is the difference between the largest value and the smallest value contained in the data set. That is the difference between the biggest number and the smallest number that you have in your data set. Just find the difference, minus it. That is your range. As simple as that. Okay, so the first thing you do to make it easy for you, the first thing you should always do to make it easy for you to locate the smallest value and the largest value is to first reorder the data set. First, rearrange the data set from the smallest to largest. Then subtract the first element from the last element, knowing fully well that the first element is going to be the smallest element, the smallest value. Then the last element will be the largest value. So you are subtracting the smallest number or the smallest value from the largest value. Let's proceed to our example. This is the question I have here. I want to look for my range in this data set. The data set is your question, like I told you earlier. So I want to find the range here. Look at that. The questions are the data set I'm being given is 2, 5, 9, 3, 5, 4, 7. Your range is the difference between the smallest value and the largest value. So to make it easy for you, let's just rearrange it in ascending order, that is from smallest to largest, so that it will be easy for me to spot the smallest number and the largest number. If you are smart enough to spot your smallest number and the largest number just by looking at your question, you may not necessarily need to rearrange, but most times it saves you the stress of having to search around for the answer. So it's just best you reorganize your question by arranging in the from the smallest value to the largest value. Look at that. 2 comes first, followed by 3, followed by my 4, followed by 5, followed by the second 5, and then 7, and then my 9. So obviously 2 is the smallest value here, and 9 on my right side here is the largest value. So I'm just going to take away 2 from 9, and that gives me my range. 9 take away 2 is equal to 7. So that is my range. And that will be all for today. But let's just go over the lesson one more time. This is just like a classwork for you to be sure that you grabbed everything I have taught you today. So let's go over this together. I'm going to ask you these questions and I want you to give me the answer right there in your notebook. So let's go. That to find the mean, dash all values. So what are you supposed to do to find your mean? What is the first thing to do? You answer that in your notebook. I'm sure you know it's add all the values together. Then the second thing you do to find your mean, what is that? Do you know that? Can you remember? Yes, divide the number, that is the number you get from adding all the values together, divided by the number of the values, that is the number of your elements. All right, that is how you get your mean. Did you see that example I did for you earlier here now? All right, you add all of this together and divide it by 7, you get your mean. So let's go and revise the median. Let's do that again. To find your median, what do? Number 1, put your numbers in dash from least to greatest. What is supposed to be here? What is supposed to be here? Put your numbers in order. That is, arrange your numbers from least to greatest. Then the second thing you do to find your median is to mark off high and low values until you reach the dash. Yes, what is supposed to be there? You and I both know it's supposed to be middle until you reach the middle number. That's then going to be your median. If you have an odd number data set, if you have the even number data set, if there are 2 middles, what do? Add them together and then what? Divide by 2. That's revision for you right there. Okay, let's go over the example. Look at that example I did for you earlier on. Okay, let's just go to revise our mode. To find your mode, what do? Put the numbers in dash from least to greatest. What are you supposed to do there? What are you supposed to have on this line? I'm sure you know what it's supposed to be. Put your numbers in order from least to greatest. Then find the numbers that appears the most often. You remember I told you another name for mode is the most often, the most frequent number that you have there. Okay, and I said there may be more than one mode, or there may be you can have 2 or 3 modes in a question. I told you that earlier on. So let's just revise our range. To find your range, what do? Put numbers in order from least to greatest. Then the second thing you do, dash the lowest number from the highest number. So what's supposed to be here? Subtract the lowest number from the highest. Okay, that will be the end of today's class. Till I come your way next time. Bye bye.